French label for the black film, a movement or mode of storytelling that had its heyday across the world from 1945 to 1955. German expressionist cinema, a cinema obsessed with madness, loneliness and the perils of a deranged world, gave film noir a mood, a visual style and themes to explore. The historical setting of a noir film is a contemporary world that has been corrupted and lost its moral compass. The protagonist is a loner, introverted, troubled, hard-boiled and pessimistic. He is not the conventional film hero, but is defined by his ability to survive and restore normality. The antagonist comes in many guises and can often be a femme fatale, a dangerous female who lures, tempts or seduces the hero. The noir world can be external or internal. The external world is the dark and decrepit streets of a big city, normally filmed at night. The internal world is the violence, traumas and nightmares of the hero's mind. Often, the external world reflects the interior state of the protagonist or the antagonist. Film noir movies are what Brody calls psychological narratives, with the faces, gestures, words and the truth of the character more significant than the action. They aren't procedurals or mysteries. Brody defines them as character studies and sociological investigations. Noir continues to be relevant today because we are personally dealing with the same themes explored in film: alienation, moral ambiguity, being trapped by fate, an existential crisis, and the perverse pleasure of a self-destructive act. As in other genres, how the noir hero surmounts their struggles can be inspiring for an audience. Many protagonists having what Curtis calls a stoic resolution and an ironic detachment that can deal with impossible situations. There are many classical film noir movies: The Maltese Falcon, The Big Sleep and Touch of Evil, to name a few. But I would like to explore the opening sequence of Carol Reed's The Third Man. The Third Man is a continuous reflection of contrasts. The pre-war Vienna, with the Strauss music, glamour and easy charm, is compared to the ruined remains of the post-war city, with this burgeoning black market where anything was available if there was the demand and money to pay for it. It contrasts the disparity between the affluent occupiers and the impoverished residents, while even the soundtrack, the merry tones of the zither, contrasts with the sombre storyline and dark cinematography. The film is also counterpointed by moments of humour, with running gags, visual comedy and absurd situations, such as the old balloon seller interrupting the high-tension stakeout. The theme of contrast is established in the opening monologue, an exposition by the narrator, a film noir tradition. The beginning montage highlights the black market dealings and the consequences of approaching a transaction as an amateur. It depicts the derelict and decaying state of the city, another film noir tradition, and the fact that the centre of the city was governed by 4 different countries. What hope did the law enforcement have? All strangers to the place, and none of them could speak the same language. Finally, it introduces us to the protagonist, Holly Martin, a down-on-his-luck novelist and an unlikely hero. Holly has arrived in the shadowy foreign country with his strange ways on the promise of a job, but instead he must investigate the murder of his best friend. Finding his way through the murky underworld, he's finally asked to contrast his morals with a lifelong friendship. Like all good noir writers, Graham Greene provides us with a femme fatale, Anna, the murder victim's lover, and in a twist, Greene provides us with an unlikely antagonist, the murder victim himself. As in many noir films, the external scene reflects the internal landscape of Holly's psyche. Desolate ruins and unmitigated decay. At the end of the film, Holly makes a decision to stay and help rebuild the city, perhaps returning his inner psyche to some semblance of order. Many recent films proudly boast a film noir heritage. Memento, Pulp Fiction, and the recent Batman franchise. The film I'd like to explore is Martin Scorsese's timeless classic, Taxi Driver. Scorsese takes the dark and taboo subject of child prostitution and places it in the gaudy, wet and sleazy streets of a big city that is populated by cynical characters and the marginalised community of the underworld. Driving these streets in the fatal twisting plot is a pessimistic taxi driver, Travis, an anti-hero and a loner. Travis is a Vietnam vet and experiences the same post-war disillusionment suffered by earlier film noir protagonists. He often complains about the decay of society and the loss of moral compass, a metaphor for his own mental condition. He does nothing about this loss until an inciting incident turns him from a passive and anonymous taxi driver into a fierce and brutal crime fighter. The appeal of the film is that despite Travis's deteriorating mental health, all of his flaws are relatable. They are all flaws that we as individuals must come to terms with. The dark atmosphere, the musical score, the chiaroscuro lighting and the voiceover narration are the stamps on Scorsese's postcard to his film noir roots. You looking at me? Are you looking at me? How was that?